अपने विचार रखने के लिए मैं डॉक्टर ए रघु कुमार जी को आमंत्रित करता हूं, जो हैदराबाद से आए हैं और जिनकी पुस्तक लोहिया एक पुनर्पाठ का विमोचन भी इसी सत्र में होगा।
Thank you, first of all, for inviting me to this session. I thank ITM University, Ramashankar ji, and the chairman of the present session. In fact, what I am going to present before you is not exactly about Lohian economics. What I am trying to convey to you is Lohia examined economics after Marx. His examination started in 1939, but abruptly ended in 1942 due to the Quit India movement, his participation. So then again it took a lot of break, and he returned back to that subject somewhere in 50s, 1952 onwards, while giving his lectures on, in Hyderabad. Lohia ji expired on 12th October 1967. Lohia examined economics after Marx within 15 years of Marx's death. Now, from 1967 to 2025, where are we? Did any one of us examine economics after Lohia? Basically, when we say this word economics, see, I am a practicing advocate, but I have a lot of interest in political economy. This word political economy, when Marx referred to it as political economy, even pre-Marxist socialist scholars also tried to explore this idea of political economy. But in Germany language and in many of the references of the political economy, it is production process. It is nothing to do with the economic policies of the governments. It is basically a production process. This production process itself is called as political economy. So when they say that capitalist political economy, we refer to the mode of production available in the capitalist societies. How the production forces are working, who is having the control over the production forces or production instruments. This is the examination in the political economy, not exactly the ideas. See, the ideas will develop based upon the basic structure of the political economy is the idea of Marxism. But when in 1939 Lohia ji started examining the political economy, he found that most of the predictions, not even predictions, the very laws, what Lohia says is he is not worried about the predictions. It's very clear. He is very clear. What he says that the laws of capitalism, which Marx tried to establish so scientifically and claimed that I have come out with a wonderful scientific explanation of the laws of capitalism, LAWS, the laws of capitalism. He said that I am examining in a scientific manner. That means it is a science. It happens like this. What happens? According to Marx, as the capitalism grows, there will be a serious conflict between the interests of the capitalists and the workers, the proletariat. Then there will be heavy exploitation. This surplus labor exploited from the workers will be continuously joining the capitalist. And by that way, capitalists will be enriched heavily and workers will get pauperized. These pauperized workers will form in its own a social formation. That is the advanced industrial proletariat, which becomes a class in itself. And there will be now a clash of interests between the capitalist and the proletariat. What for? For the control over the production forces. But it did not happen. In all the capitalist countries, workers also got enriched. Workers have become, in a sense, in other Marxists later on examined this area and said that they got bourgeoised. Working class is getting bourgeoisized. This is Richard Gombin, one of the French American scholar, in a book called as Radical Tradition, said that there is something called as a bourgeoisization of workers. So this is the problem. So workers are not getting pauperized in the capitalist countries. We have developed, later on Marx has developed real wages and imagined wages, social wages, so many concepts to explain it. But whatever might be the explanation, it could not stand the scrutiny of the law established by Marx that there will be a pauperization of the workers, there will be intensity of class interest, and there will be a class struggle, and which class struggle will demolish the so-called capitalism. It did not happen. In all the capitalist countries, workers and capitalists have reached a reasonable compromise. This is the point of start for Lohia to examine where things went wrong. Then Lohia came, because the world in which Lohia lived was a bipolar world. There was a Soviet bloc, there was an American bloc. So there was a clash of ideas between these two things, and each were claiming to be superior in terms of ideas. And Nehru, by that time, has taken a middle path, but it's not an economic path. It's something like, he has taken a middle path in everything, saying that we will have some capitalist elements, some socialistic elements. We will have planning, we will have this. We will encourage the capitalist, we encourage the labor. So he wanted to take a middle path in between, where Lohia tried to convey that this is not socialism. At the same time, Lohia has attacked both capitalism and the socialism in the version of Marxism available in Russia and even in China. So this is the starting point on which the things went on. Now, Lohia is no more, but we are here. We have a challenge before us. How do we relocate our Lohian socialist thought in the changed economics between 1967 to today? Then what happened? First of all, to change something, we must know what happened. What happened from 1967 to 2025? First thing is, there was a fall of Soviet bloc in 1990. Soviet bloc has fallen. It got into pieces. Every country went back to, again, capitalist mode of economy. So Soviet bloc has gone. Now, what is left for this bipolar world? There is no bipolar world now. There is no clash of ideas. Now everybody has accepted that capitalism has ideally won the war. Capitalism has won the war. Is it true? This is the question before us. See, the post what is called a Soviet bipolar world, there is one unipolar world created. At the same time, during the same time, remember that somewhere around the 1980s, we have something called as Dunkel's proposals being discussed in the world order. And the Dunkel's proposals have brought another dimension into the world economic order. Those have ultimately resulted in something called as World Trade Organizations. World Trade Organization, what's the difference between a World Trade Organization and UNO? UNO also is an international organization having the, what's called as conglomeration of all the countries. But WTO and UNO has one fundamental change, that in the UNO, ultimately, 6 nations which form the Security Council will decide all the matters. Whereas the WTO, Afghanistan and America have the same voting power. So when initially Marxists and even socialists tried to oppose globalization and were saying globalization down, down, they could not understand the effect of WTO in a manner which requires to be understood. Because WTO has created a new world order some people, some Marxists take out some two sentences from Marx and say that Marx has already visualized this world order. No, this kind of visualization does not work, at least in Marxian terms also, because nobody can be beyond his time and space matrix. So Marx cannot visualize globalization, not even Lohia. Let me be very frank, because this is all things beyond a human endeavor to imagine the future challenges. So the WTO order has come. Immediately after the WTO order, within 10 years, there were several dissensions in the what is called as a WTO economic order. In fact, WTO has given a kind of advantage to the third world countries, especially India and China, Brazil, some Southeast countries. They have taken the advantage of the WTO order, which has become a problem to America again. And then again, America and England started their own economic spheres. They wanted to, now the situation is going much and much and much beyond. So now, if an examination is done in a retrospective, what was WTO has done? See, how Lohia might have thought, because why I am putting all these things before you is, Lohia did not believe in only condemning anything. He wanted to examine the opportunities available in every challenge. This is basically what attracted me in Lohia is, he is not a nihilist. He is not in the order of condemnation. He was more interested to see what are the opportunities available in the present order. So what could have been Lohia's stand when he has seen WTO? This is, in fact, I have been arguing with my socialist friends within Hyderabad who say that globalization was wrong, or all that has happened in the name of globalization is to be condemned. I used to say no. The International Confederation of Free Trade Unions and the Scandinavian countries, they have a different view of WTO. They had a different view of globalization. I have seen their text. They started saying that this is an opportunity for the trade unions to have an international networking. Earlier, nation states were not allowing international networking of the trade unions. Now we have an opportunity. Why do you want to waste it? This is exactly the way, probably, I think that Lohia would have thought had he been alive. So what I am trying to put before you is what Lohia would have thought, sitting in 2025, examining the World Economic Order. This is the area of concern for all of us. Now the second thing is, when we do comparison with China, let us remember that as on in the year 1987, both China and India were standing on the same footing in terms of GDP, in terms of development indexes, in terms of all parameters relating to the what's called as the measurement of development. But what happened between 1987 to 2000? China has virtually gone advanced beyond us by at least 10 to 15 times. We were stagnating. Our stagnation started after 1987, not in 1950. Our stagnation started after 1987, where China has become slightly what is called as, in 2025, China's GDP is $19,232 billion, which is equivalent to 4.6 times higher than the GDP of the 4,187 billions of the India. So this is the vast difference which has developed. That means if an original thinker like Lohia was available with us, he would have taken the opportunities in a different way. He would have examined those things in a different way. Then the third thing which happened, most important thing is, new technologies have come. The manufacturing industry has undergone a change. The IT has interfered. Artificial intelligence is coming in. The so-called concept of sweat labor, which we were having so far as the basis for our socialist thinking, is undergoing a change. So now this area, this technological innovation and intervention in the communications, in transport, in banking, in every sector, this deserves to be re-estimated again. Then final thing is, between 1950 to 2025, there is an enormous growth of middle class. This growth of middle class has become a stumbling block between the so-called class war between the capitalist and the working class. This middle class is not a revolutionary class, but it wants change. It wants change incrementally, not as an abrupt, intervention. So how do we understand this development of middle class within this class structure of proletariat versus the capitalist? Similarly, how do we locate? See, what is the strength of middle class now? Most of the, I think, I tell you one calculation of the strength of the middle class now. That is, normally we calculate that a person who is in the annual income group of rupees 5 lakhs to 30 lakhs, that is approximately US $700 or $40,000 as middle class. In one of the studies made by the what's called as Asian Politics, in a paper published by an author, Abhijit Roy, it says that there is about 15% of the population of the world are in the middle class. And another study made by the World Bank itself has said that the middle class is 56% of the total world population. There's a variation between 15 to 56%. But still, how do we locate this middle class is another challenge before us. So with these developments, we have to relocate our thinking of socialism and our economic aspect of Lohia. This is where I conclude with one of the wonderful statements of Lohia, where in one of the finest books, Fragments of the World Mind, neither conformism nor coexistence, but beyond them both, is an attitude of mind that takes from conformism its desire to check and cure evil, and from coexistence its desire not to impose the truth as one sees it upon others. And again, if this principle of coexistence and with approximation were worked out in India and Pakistan, China, Formosa, it would be best to recognize the existence of native forces and their existing frontiers, and to act in such a fashion that confederating tendencies may be released, that approximation may be achieved, and that at some stage free and democratic ideas may bring together peoples and countries that have been artificially sundered, that the wound in the body of many Asian countries may be healed. In fact, human race may learn to live in peace and freedom. So I once again request the wonderful young community to rethink after hearing about Gandhi, Nehru and Lohia for 2 days continuously. You have to reinterpret them in the present context. How and where do they stand? And until then, it becomes only a theoretical perspective of an understanding, but in reality, how to relocate them is the main issue. Thank you very much. Thank you all.